In physics, we use graphs to describe relationships between variables. However, it is important to describe these relationships clearly and accurately to avoid confusion. Let's analyze this graph. From this graph, we can see that as x increases, y increases, but not at a constant rate. Is the description as x increases, y increases sufficient to describe this graph? Unfortunately, there is another graph that fits the description as x increases, y increases. This means we need to be more specific in our description to differentiate between the two graphs. The key difference between these graphs is how the gradient changes as x increases. In this graph, as x increases, y increases, but the gradient decreases. This means the rate at which y increases slows down. We describe this as x increases, y increases at a decreasing rate. In the next graph, as x increases, y increases, but the gradient increases as well. This means y is increasing more rapidly. We describe this as x increases, y increases at an increasing rate. Now, let's analyze another graph. From this graph, we can see that as x increases, y decreases, but not at a constant rate. Is the description as x increases, y decreases sufficient to describe this graph? Again, there is another graph that also fits the description as x increases, y decreases. So, just like before, we need to be more specific in our description. The difference between these graphs is the rate at which the gradient changes as x increases. For this graph, as x increases, y decreases, but the gradient decreases as well. We describe this as x increases, y decreases at a decreasing rate. For the next graph, as x increases, y decreases, but its gradient increases. We describe this as x increases, y decreases at an increasing rate. To summarize, there are 4 basic types of nonlinear graphs. 1. Top left, as x increases, y increases at a decreasing rate. 2. Bottom left, as x increases, y increases at an increasing rate. 3. Top right, as x increases, y decreases at a decreasing rate. 4. Bottom right, as x increases, y decreases at an increasing rate. To describe a nonlinear relationship correctly, 1. Always state how the dependent variable changes with the independent variable. 2. Always state the rate of change of the dependent variable. Remember, clear descriptions lead to accurate understanding in physics.